A quick introduction to the Metaverse for those interested but not quite convinced of its relevance to their business just yet. Zaha Izrin Zahari of E3 Hubs breaks it down with Faris Hanapia of EDT and Dr. Eric Ballan of Asia Tech.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Turbocharge Live 2022. Today we have two gentlemen here who are kind like expert in the topic matter. So let me introduce Dr. Eric Ballan. He is the CEO of Asia Tech, and another person is Mr. Faris, who are the creative director of EDT. So today we have a special topic to discuss is about metaverse. So the question is the metaverse just a hype or how can it relate to our business? So let me ask both of you. Maybe Dr. Eric can actually explain what is metaverse.
All right. So thank you for having me here. I think that's the million-dollar question that everybody seems to be answering right now and be asking as well. So what's this metaverse? How did it come about? And so on and so forth. So if you want to put in terms of the most simplest way possible, it is basically accumulation and an integration of multiple virtual worlds coming together. So if you are very familiar with how we play mobile games, and either whether it's on your PS or your Nintendo Wii, is the engagement factor that pulls you into a world that is beyond our physical world, and then you get stuck in a loop, perpetually going on and on and on until you go through a sequence of either a simulated lifestyle or a world that you can actually be engaged in more socially and more freely than the physical one. But the metaverse that we are very familiar with right now, that everybody's speaking about, it's a constellation of how all virtual worlds are being interacted and being integrated together. That's the simplest definition that we have right now when it comes to the metaverse.
Great. Thank you. How about you, Faris?
Hi. Thank you very much for having me. I think the definition of metaverse is still being written as we go along. To me, the concept of metaverse has been around for quite some time. I think it has only been popularized because of the existence of NFTs, and suddenly a lot of people talk about this idea of a virtual environment. But to me, I think the definition of metaverse is where people gather in a virtual space where they're not only playing games, but more of like doing their daily activities, from working, socializing, and even playing games as well, in one place. And whatever that they do in this certain space will affect the outcome of the space itself. It's sort of like a collaboration where once people go in and leave the space, it has changed into a new definition of what the space is all about. So I think in terms of simplifying it, the idea of like multiplayer games and how Fortnite is originally meant for to play games, but eventually it has turned into a place where people socialize and watch live concerts. So it has that definition of slowly becoming a place where people just hang out and just live in this virtual space. That's my definition of what metaverse is.
So it's like what my son is playing Roblox and whatnot, right?
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, correct.
So it means that metaverse is also creating another identity of the real people.
Yes and no to a certain degree. What the metaverse is trying to achieve, it is trying to do a digital twin of the physical into the digital domain world. It does not want to replicate at 100% of how the physical world is operating, but it wants to give you a different facade or a different outcome or even a different feel of how you can do mundane operative work in the physical world, but more interactive, more social engaged in the digital world. Because you take on a role-playing avatar and then you are actually playing a character in that digital world, Therefore, you can be just doing your mundane desk job, or you can actually go to a meeting and stuff. But because you are in a bubble that you carry the character and you carry the persona of someone else, or could be yourself in a different disguise, that helps push a mundane operational job into far more interactive and far more meaningful. And that's how everybody is actually trying to look at it. So it's not trying to replace or replicate the physical world, but it's just trying to enhance and make things a little bit more better and more interactive.
Yes. So I can make myself look like Tom Cruise and then go into that world and then go still shopping the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
correct.
That's more interesting because it helps these introvert and extrovert people to change the way of their daily life.
True, true, true.
Okay,
That's very true.
I understand you are in education business. So how does this metaverse will actually help edutech, educational technology?
So the whole concept that we are trying to put forth here is digital twinning. And the idea behind digital twinning is to actually replicate the physical infrastructure and the physical operation of a university or college into the domain of the digital. So assuming, I give an example, if I'm very lazy to go for class on that particular day, but I've got an exact replica of my college or my university or my classroom in the metaverse or digital world, I can still go in, log in as how I'm actually logging onto the learning management system. But this time around, I don't see a blank screen to show what are my courses and where my classes are. I can actually walk through virtually in my university or in my classroom, look to the left, look to my right, and see my fellow classmates still talking, gossiping, chit-chatting, while the teacher is in front discussing and utilizing the whiteboard and then carry out that classroom activity. So I am in the comfort of my home, but I'm actually in presence of my class in the university. So advocating that approach of digital twinning in the education sector or in the education space allows continuous interactivity of learning, taking away the dullness and the mundaneness of teaching and learning. It is now moving and elevating teaching and learning into a different dimension of collaboration, of social interaction, and also social engagement. What happened during the pandemic is that we have been utilizing this digital space of the Zoom and the Google Meets, but we can actually turn off our camera and turn off our mics and microphone, and then you'll just see a black screen. But on the metaverse, in the education point, in the education sector, you are still playing a role character in the form of avatar. So if I see your avatar being very dormant and you're not moving, I can come up to your avatar. I can nudge you, and then you come alive. So that keeps the flair and that keeps the momentum of communication open rather than hiding behind the screen. So I can still turn off my screen and turn off my camera on in the metaverse itself, but because my avatar is still active, it just shows that I'm still alive inside the metaverse, so I can actually nudge and start communication from there. So that really elevates different form of approach, and it actually elevates the teaching and learning aspect to be very different compared to the digital, the traditional digital of the Zoom and the Google Meets that we are used to, as compared to the physical and also the metaverse.
We can see how
Yeah,
this metaverse
this is art digital not too long ago. It is actually to advocate
great,
the love and
great,
appreciation of art.
great.
Now, art buying is
Do you
still
have
very
something
elite and it's still very exclusive,
to
but art
share?
appreciation should be open and made for the masses. So when we took on this project for the Ministry of Tourism, we said that let's curate the best art pieces that we can find with local artists together as much as we can. So just very quickly, this is going to be a very short video. So I can see that, let me just hit play. So if I hit play, you can see that that's my avatar there in jeans and denim shirt, uh, with moving around my screen, and you can see that whole gallery being set up by local artists and of the works they've done and they have done. So I can just browse around on this metaverse, and then I can still see, like it, and I can just buy them on the physical. Let me stop share first. So with that glimpse into the metaverse gives you a different experience and a different exposure of how you can actually take something which is very very ordinary, and you can actually make it something very special from an experiential point of view.
Great, great. So you can actually browse it first virtually and then decided to go to and see
Correct.
the real
So
thing,
in
right?
that particular gallery, as far as the education point of view of art appreciation, it was actually to sell art in the digital form and to sell art in the physical form, just to help the artists get the exposure. But at the same time, bring the masses into the metaverse to experience the advancement of technology and the appreciation of art together.
Great, great. Okay, Faris, how about you? Maximizing this metaverse. I know you are literally doing on this technology in your business towards on marketing view.
Okay, so we understand that the landscape right now, people, especially for the younger audiences, they're spending much more time on the digital space, browsing through the Instagram, TikToks, and social media and whatnot. So the idea here is that at one point it has become a bit more saturated in those spaces, and people are looking for new spaces to actually hang out, right? So they want to be in some unique places where they can socialize and be with their friends, right? So the idea of how I would look into how businesses and brands will adopt metaverse is to create that experiences online. So being in a digital native space where they're already hanging out, and create that interesting spaces where they can play games, talk to their friends, and be a bit more expressive to show off their NFTs. All right, so those are the things that really, I would say, utilize what metaverse is all about. And it's also about community building. So when you talk about, I'm going to jump a little bit on NFTs because it's really hard not to touch NFTs in this. And when you talk about NFT projects, it's all about community building, and you want to find ways to keep the conversation going. So Metaverse is one of the places where you can get that conversation, keep up the conversation in between big events that's happening in real life or in the digital world. So so when you have this community and this conversation going, that's how you will attract brands to have presence in this space. So I think we are still in the early stage of adopting that, especially in Malaysia. And I think we're still early in terms of building that number out. And because NFTs is still quite a niche area to explore. So brands are still, at the end of the day, they're still looking at numbers at the end of the day. So, but people in NFTs, they have high purchasing power. So when you talk about purchasing digital assets in the metaverse, that allows them to actually utilize whatever NFTs that they bought. Say, for instance, they bought like digital accessories. They want to show it off in their avatars, and that's how they do it. That's how they express themselves in these spaces. So yeah, it's a long process, but we're getting there slowly. People are getting much more awareness in what NFTs are, metaverse are, and how this will finally lead to sales. You're not talking about in real life products anymore. Like fashion brands are starting to produce digital clothing for their avatars. So yeah, purchases are, everything's being digital native these days. So that's where we are at the moment.
So it becomes more easy, right? I mean, when you adapt this metaverse thing, like you mentioned, fashion. What I saw before, you can actually go to the shop virtually. You can pick the product. I mean, like dress, shoes. You can actually put it on your feet. You can see whether it's nice or not, and then you can decide whether you want to purchase immediately or you probably still want to go to the shop and try for the last time and buy it. So it creates this engagement experience that makes people feel more like it. So yeah, it will change the marketing trend, definitely. Eventually, the traditional way of doing business will go to this metaverse and expand the channel. So both of you, do you think this is just a hype or it's going to be real? Because it's still new, right? What do you think, Doctor?
So because it's still new in the adoption and we're still early, so it's definitely a hype, but eventually it will become very legit. And it definitely it's a space that will have a lot of transformation happen for businesses. So it's a hype for now, but it will be legit very soon.
All right, thanks.
Yeah.
Faris, I'm sure you're going to say.
So I would say there's two ways of look at things. Hype definitely helps out on the awareness. When you talk about how Metaverse is basically jumping on the hype of NFTs as well. People making millions of ringgit selling NFTs, and where do they show it off in the Metaverse and all that. So I think the hype helps a little bit, but definitely it has to come to a certain point where it has become a bubble. And right now the bubble has popped. And right now, I would say if you look into digital assets as well, the price has dropped a lot, and the volume of people spending in these digital spaces are also dropping. But we as creators, we look at as a time to build, right? We look at the things that came out during the hype as noises, right? So right now the noises are gone. Now is where the real developers are building real things for real projects, for real artists, for real, genuine people are still around. So it would take time, especially on the adoption level. When you talk about getting people to install MetaMask wallet is already a challenge. Might as well, how do you want to make people purchase in cryptocurrency? So that is another topic to talk about, but definitely we're getting there. The way we look at things is that the people that create things on the early stage will definitely get the bigger pie later on. I would look at it that way, and it's always fun to share these new ideas to people because they find this really interesting, and you can have you can share a little glimpse of what the future holds. That's always a good story to tell to a lot of our friends.
Right, all right. Thanks a lot to both of you. And guys who just joined, I do hope we can actually expand this session. So, but then we'll have to wrap it up now. Thank you so much to both of you. Hope to see you guys again. And just to remind all of you here, Faris is going to be in the masterclass. So you should catch up him soon. So, all right. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Hope to see you all again. Bye.
All right, thanks.
Bye. Thank you very much. Bye.